So, guys, I want to talk about AEW and I want to talk about Wrestle Dream. Pardon me, I have like Pabst Blue Ribbon, and with it, like a beer and a conversation with you guys, the Charles Bukowski method. But I want to talk about Wrestle Dream, and I do want to mention that it should be Okada versus Hangman, and there are a lot of reasons for why this would be the best match to have. First of all, Okada has been the champion. He's been holding three titles for a very, very long time. So it kind of makes sense that you have to go somewhere with that. You cannot kind of be like, okay, he's holding three belts. What does that really mean when someone's holding three belts and they're not, going after the major title? What does it mean when you have somebody like Jade Cargill, be a champion for over 500 days and then she's like, okay, never challenged for the AEW championship, women's championship. And then also, too, you have Athena and she's never won or she's never had a really well developed feud for the AEW Women's Championship. And I actually think you could have done something. You could have had a triple threat match with the Women's Championship, ROH Championship, and TBS Championship all together, really. But I really just kind of think that's one of the big arguments. And the biggest one is that the Don Callis family is in a feud with Hangman Adam Page. So it's all the members versus Adam Page, really. So wouldn't he want to go down the roster? So, like I was saying this week, the way I would have booked it was I would have done Takeshita versus Hangman, go to a 30-minute draw, and then you have Okada versus Hangman, and then they have a match at All In, and they could do an hour-long match. Um, an hour-long exhibition match, just like when you had Kenny Omega versus Hangman, and then you can set up Kenny Omega versus Hangman Full Gear, Okada versus Takeshita at either World's End or Full Gear, or you can do Okada Takeshita at Full Gear. This time for a rematch for the title. Really, like there's so much, you know, things that you can build towards, but just by having Okada in the picture. And then I also, as I said before, he's a member of the Don Callis family. He's Adam Page is feuding with the Don Callis family. It makes a lot of sense. The next thing that I want to say is that WWE, because the biggest thing with WWE, one of the biggest problems is that there's not a lot of Japanese male wrestlers that are pushed towards the heavyweight title. Like, I think for a while, a lot of people thought it's Shinsuke Nakamura would be one, but they put him on the back burner. He's not appeared for years. And then I don't remember them ever pushing like another like Japanese wrestler. Like I know like some people may just say Samoans are Japanese. I'm not sure if they count as Asian or not really. If they do, my bad really. But I think they're more like oceanic really. But I think in the history of WWE, if I'm correct, they probably never had one Asian person hold the WWE championship outside of Antonio Inoki. And with Antonio Inoki, what they did was that they took his title doesn't count really. So you're telling me a company that's been around since the mid '60s can't think of one Asian person to put a title on. But then again, you have AEW, where honestly Takeshita and Okada could make great AEW champions or ROH champions, and it's just a good look, really. And then WWE has a long history of racism and sexism. And so, like, honestly, you have a company where they push Asian wrestlers a lot better and Asian men a lot better versus WWE, where you have Hong Kong Phooey and other things like that. So I really just think that it makes you look better than WWE in certain ways, really. The other thing that I'm going to say is that Okada is a main event draw, really, and I think that that's one of the big problems with Okada is that I don't feel like in AEW they've done a lot with him in a sense of making him a main event person, and that means booking him as a single star as the main event of television shows. Like I don't remember any television show that he was in the main event of as a singles. I know he was in Blood and Guts 2 years ago, and then I mean last year he was in Blood and Guts, and then one time in Philadelphia you had Okada in a multi-person tag team match. But I think with Okada, there has to be a point where you have to pull the trigger and say, hey, you know what? This is a legend from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He can be a champion. He can put in a good performance. He's definitely in the upper echelon of Don Callis' family. Don Callis may give him preferential treatment because he has 3 titles, and Don Callis cares about titles. So why are we not just really riding with this and making Okada the best that he can be and making him have storylines that make sense really? So it's just good booking of Okada, and it sets up other things like Takeshita versus Okada or Takeshita versus Hangman, or even if you do something like get to Kenny Omega versus Hangman, because definitely when you do Okada versus Hangman, you kind of think about Kenny Omega versus Hangman as an option as well, really. But I think right now he is the best fit, and hopefully they do something about it because I really think that there's a lot that they can do with Okada versus Hangman. That would be the right match to have. It's the right time to do it, and let's see AEW do it and get their shit together on it.